So we're going to continue now to look more at some of the other ways in which you can understand the operations of the organization. And we've talked about time studies, operations process chart, bill of materials, parts list. Now we're going to move into a couple of the other ones, flow process charts. Actually, they're not in this order. The next one we're going to look at is an assembly chart. And we're going to go through these pretty quickly. But this is a drawing that's kind of an exploded assembly chart, but it also shows the ways in which things move together. So these parts then are put together with this other part that then is put on this part, this part. These all are assembled and then put together on this. So this shows the organization and the order in which things are assembled. That's called an assembly chart with a drawing on it. There's an exploded assembly drawing, which doesn't necessarily show you the exact order of things, but it's more of an exploded drawing, and I know you guys have created these before. The next thing we're going to look at is a route sheet, and a route sheet is actually a very important thing to understand the processes involved in an organization, and all organizations will have this. They might have, if it's a really simple organization, they might just have drawings, but anything that is any kind of volume would have a route sheet. Let's look a little bit at this route sheet. You're going to be creating one in a minute, for your homework, that will be creating one for the white maple telephone table, the leg portion especially. So we look at this, and what this has on here, and it has the shop operations in order to make this particular part. So the part number you're making is this, and the description is this. So what you do first of all, in order to make this part, this is a list of things you need to do. You obtain the material from the in-house. So this tells you when you did it. You have to sign this and say when you did it. And then sometimes you have inspections over here, and you have a quality control person that might be signing off inspections. Now this doesn't always happen. Maybe the operator is just doing it, and the quality control doesn't have to. But you can see the first thing you do is take it from the in-house storage. Next, you machine the blanks, set up number 2 BNS screw machine in order to do this. So you'll be doing that next. And then you'll go run through this whole thing step by step. And when it's done, then it goes past to the next operation. Or in this case, it's shipped out. But that route sheet is just something that really tells you step by step exactly what is to be done. So that's what I'd like you to do, is create a route sheet right now for the maple telephone table. And you can just do the legs, because I think the whole thing would be a little too much. But go ahead and do the legs and see how that works out. So you could have stopped the video and done that route sheet, or you can do it later. But let's look next at the multiple activity chart. And this is something you guys did in a lab, I think, in IME 223, where you have time along the side here, and then you have each activity that's going on. In this case, it's one operator who's running 3 machines, but it could be one operator, another operator, 2 different kinds of operators. It could be a different machine. It could be an oven, whatever it is that's going on here that have to sort of interact. And then this shows the activity associated with, like this, the operator, he's loading machine 1, which shows he's loading machine 1. Machine 2 is idle. Then he's traveling to machine 2 and then loading machine 2. So this probably looks familiar to you, this multiple activity chart. And it's actually a really useful thing to know how to make. We'll also be looking at this when we look at the space required for an operation. So if you have multiple machines, you need to know how many operators you're going to need. Maybe it's 1 operator per machine, maybe it's 1 operator for 3 machines, but there's ways that you will be trying to figure that out. So a multiple activity chart is another kind of chart that you could use. The next is a flow process chart, and this should be familiar to you also. You created this, I think, when you were doing the aluminum slug manufacturing lab in IME 223. So let's look a little bit at the details associated with this. So this, in this case, it looks like it's a present method, and the type of thing that you're doing is you're following a material. So sometimes you can follow a worker, you can follow a material, you can follow a machine, and you can also do a proposed method. So you might make some changes associated with the layout or the procedures, and then you'll create another flow process chart. But in this case, it's a present method, and you're following the material. So the next thing you do is you can see these 5 symbols. If you remember those 5 symbols, those are the ones that we talked about earlier, associated with the symbols we use in the operations process chart, which is the the circle and the square, but then that's also included all the other ones also. And so you can see it lists the exact steps that you take and then the symbols associated with that. Over here is the distance traveled. So lots of times you'll add up the distances, which is what they've done here to get the total distance traveled. You'll also want to specifically look at delays. Is there reasons that there's some delay occurring, and you want to maybe look at that as a possible area for improvement. And then you'll have a summary up here that really helps you to understand what exactly is going. Always also, I don't think I've said this enough, but in every single chart that you create, you need to have recorded like who did it, when they did it. This is the who did it and what it actually is studying. So it's really important to include these kinds of things in your charts. Don't forget to do that. Another chart that you might be looking at would be a flow process chart. In this case, you put the symbols here. You can see these different symbols. You put it on the layout. And this might look familiar to you because this is the layout of the aluminum manufacturing you did in 223. So this has all the machines and it has the ways in which it was traveling before you made the improvements. And it overlays this information, the information from the flow process chart onto the floor plan. And so you can get an idea of the actual distance travel. And then what you do, you might actually create that for the revised chart. The next one is a Gantt chart. Now this Gantt chart is used, sometimes it's used in construction similar to the multiple activity chart where you have the different activities and you have those activities. Sometimes this is used in project management, and I know that you are familiar with Gantt chart, especially if you made any sort of project management. But you know that the indication here is the time where we are is indicated here, and these are scheduled activities. These are the darker the ones that are completed, and you can visually see if you're behind or on time. This is another one that's, again, it's more like a multiple activity chart, but it's done horizontally instead of vertically, and it's a little bit longer time period, but it's very similar. A Pareto analysis, you need to make sure you understand Pareto. It is probably one of the most commonly used and one of the most useful kinds of charts you're going to be doing. So in this case, what we're doing is we're looking at the causes of downtime, and so we looked at all the different causes, and we ranked that the most often cause of downtime is rework. The next is bad quality. So the idea here is if you can take the 20% top causes, it'll take care of 80% of the occurrences. And that's the concept associated with Pareto. And it's used quite a lot. It's used having to do with inventory, that 20% of the items take up 80% of the volume. It has to do with process improvement in a lot of issues that can be addressed using Pareto. And this is going to be good for us because some companies have thousands and thousands of parts, and we really cannot look at every single part. So we really will be using this Pareto concept where we're going to be looking at the highest volume or the highest value. This last thing I'm showing here is really just a quick look at value stream mapping. Different companies do this differently. The symbols are all there, but it's really a way of capturing the processes and the information flow associated with any kind of process that you're doing. So this is another tool. I don't know if you guys learned this anywhere, but it's really not that difficult to use. And you would definitely be using it for a company standard. We're not going to use it much in facilities class, but it is something that you can use.